Welcome to Miss V the Storyteller podcast, season 4. You guys, this is my 4th season, but this season I am so excited because we're going to have some amazing women to come on the show. Now, last week we had Erica and she shared and dropped some nuggets on us. She shared her story. It was amazing. And she shared some things on us. So Khalilah is sharing with us today. She's going to be sharing a story. But the point of our stories is to uplift and to empower us. So I'm so excited to have her. She's someone that I've been knowing for a couple of years, and she's a beautiful person. You're going to enjoy her. She's a little nervous, but we're going to pray she's going to make it through. It's going to be phenomenal. Yes, it is. So go ahead and share a little bit about yourself with us.
Oh, well, thank you, Ms. V, for having me on your show today. It's an honor to be sharing this platform with you. My name is Khalilah Slade, and I am a psychotherapist and clinical supervisor out of Durham, North Carolina. I am mom of 2 children. Well, I can't call them children anymore. They're adult, Jamila and Jamin, and also a pup mom to a little Aussie doodle. His name is Blue Blaze, and he just blazes all through my house. So, so I am also the owner of Research Triangle Counseling, and also the owner of several other businesses that are focused on mental health and trauma healing. I am committed to helping people navigate healthier lives and becoming healthy after having a history of trauma.
I love that. I love anyone that helps. If
Yeah.
you're a person that likes to give and help, you are my kind of person because we need help. Trust me, we need help. But side note, I love the name of your dog. I love that. I have never
Thank
heard that
you.
before, and I love it. So, you guys, Khalilah is going to share a story with us in just a second, but I want to talk to you all and just share the importance of us sharing our story. It is so important that we get our stories out into the world. Don't keep those things to yourself. We need to tell people and help people using stories. People will remember a story quicker than they will facts. So if you want to get a point across or you want to really help someone to make it through a difficult time, tell them about a difficult time that you went through. All
Mhm.
right. So we're going to be sharing some stories. So right now, Khalilah is going to share a story with us.
Yeah, thank you. So you're right. I am a little nervous. I'm more comfortable listening to people's stories than I am telling my own story. And so my story starts with, for as long as I can remember, I have been a caretaker, right? I am the oldest of 7 children. And from as young as about 3 or 4 years old, I can remember being left home and caring for my younger siblings. Like I was a babysitter to them. My mom was a single mom and she worked long hours. And so out of whatever need, she, maybe couldn't afford daycare or whatever. And so a lot of times it was just me and my younger siblings. So much so like I can remember my mom used to have like little things that she would have me do just so that we would not be like discovered home in the house by ourselves. So she had a rule that I couldn't answer the phone like when I was there with them. So she had a special ring, like if she called 3 times and hung up and called again, that's how I knew it was her. She had a special knock when she came to the door, even though she had a key. We had a police lock on the door just for added safety, and she had a special knock, so I knew to let her in, to take the police lock off and let her in when she came home from work. So, the theme of responsibility has always been like a constant theme of my life. That was when I was like maybe 3, 4, 5, 6. When I was 10, my mom had a set of twins. And I remember being very excited. I remember like skipping home from school and when I found out that she was in a hospital delivering them. And so it was a very exciting time for me, but it was also a time that came with a lot of responsibility.
Mm,
Because again, my mom and then my stepdad at the time, they worked a lot of long hours. And so a lot of times I was left to care for my twin brother and sister. And I can remember like changing diapers and heating up bottles and feeding them. And even when they got a little older, walking them to daycare before I got to go to school. And I remember like walking them to daycare, and I lived in Brooklyn, New York at the time. And it was a little bit of a rough neighborhood during that time. Like, and so we lived around the corner from Fort Greene Projects. And I remember like walking like maybe like 4 blocks under a train trestle behind Fort Greene Projects to take them to their babysitter who lived in those houses. And then walking the several blocks back and then further to my own school. So, I just, remember like just having a lot of responsibilities. And even though, my mom, I knew she loved me, like I don't remember getting a whole lot of nurturing myself. So I really wasn't cared for. I guess I was always the oldest. The oldest was a theme that I heard a lot. You're the oldest and you got to be responsible. That's
hmm
something that I heard a lot. And that theme kind of carried over when I became a mom at 14. I had my daughter Jamila when I was 14 years old. And that responsibility and that theme of taking care of others went from my siblings to taking care of my daughter. And as a caretaker and now a mom, my needs were again like, I wouldn't say forgot about, but just not thought of as much. So, when I decided to become a therapist, I had, many experiences in my life. I mean, we're going to just fast forward through all of those experiences. But when I became a therapist, I wanted to be the person that I needed when I was younger. I was in a lot of spaces where
Yeah.
I needed help and support. And,
Mm,
people either weren't kind or weren't caring in those spaces. And so becoming a therapist, I was always a natural helper, but I just wanted to be the kind of person that showed up for people in the ways that I needed. So being a therapist was a natural progression for me. But as I grew in my professional life, going to school for therapy and just having the natural knack to be a therapist, I realized that there was a piece that was missing. Like, in order for me to truly help and support others, I had to do my own work. And
yeah.
I realized that in doing my own work, looking at my triggers and looking at how my childhood impacted
Mm,
me currently, and looking at my attachment style, and thinking about how my childhood impacted my attachment style and how it impacted my relationships, and uncovering themes in my life helped me to really, really provide the support that people needed. And so healing wasn't easy for me, but it transformed me, and I learned how to express my true emotions, honor my needs, and understand that I was worthy of care. And
hmm
so now that theme of care and self-care and honoring my needs is something that I really hold in high value in the way that I work with others, in my schedule at work, and in the ways that I take care of myself, not just in like taking care of my self-care needs, but just honoring myself and being vulnerable, and just really realizing my worth. And so today I'm no longer just a caretaker. I'm a whole person who is aware of what they need. And my journey has taught me that prioritizing my needs is just as important as caring for others. And this has helped me be a better therapist and a better person. So that's
I
my
love your story. And as you were talking and you were sharing, I was thinking about when I was younger. Now, I am not the oldest. I am number three out of number four. But I
Mhm.
remember my mom had a knock because my sister was the babysitter. She was the older one. And so she was different than you are. My older sister, she took that as I'm in charge. I tell everybody what to do. That was her mind. That was her mindset. But we had a special knock as well, and the phone thing. Now we didn't have a police lock,
Uh-huh.
but the phone thing to know to answer the phone, you couldn't have anybody over. So we had those same
Oh, yeah.
experiences. But
Mhm.
I'll share a story with you when it came with me not being the oldest. So I'm gonna be your siblings,
Oh.
one of your siblings. With my sister and her being the oldest, and it was me and I have a younger brother, she just thought that telling everybody what to do made her like the boss.
Mm.
And there was this one incident that happened when we were growing up. We all had chores, and the
Mhm.
chore was a room, and whatever needed to be done in that room, that was your chore for a week. So you
Mhm.
would either have like the living room, and you had to vacuum, dust, and do all that, or you would have the kitchen, or you would have the bathroom, or something like that. So we all had chores. With this particular week, I had the kitchen, and my older brother had the living room. My sister was in charge, so she didn't do anything. So
Mhm.
somebody else had the bathroom. So I'm in doing my business, and my mother had this porcelain cat that she loved. I mean, this thing she thought was beautiful.
Mm.
Well, my brother broke it when
Oh.
he was vacuuming the floor because I'm in the kitchen doing my thing, and I'm standing in the kitchen in the living room, and he broke it. I don't know what he do, but it broke and it cracked. So my sister, I call her the snitch because immediately she picks up the phone to call my mom and tell my mom what happened instead of like finding some glue and trying to fix it and keep us out of trouble. But no, Miss in charge, she calls my mom and
Oh,
she's telling
wow.
my mom that the cat got broken. Well, I don't want to go into too much history, but I was very shy and very quiet. I didn't really have a voice. I
Mhm.
had chose to stop talking, and that's a part of my story.
Mhm.
So I'm doing my thing in the kitchen. But on this particular day, I was so grateful that my brother had gotten in trouble and it wasn't me, because
Mm.
oftentimes I would get in trouble because I wouldn't speak up. I would get blamed for things that I didn't do
Mhm.
because they knew I wouldn't speak up for myself. I wasn't going to say anything. I would just take it. But on
Oh.
this day, I was like, yes, it's somebody else. I was so excited. So, as my sister is telling my mom, I'm laughing in the background. And I'm like, yes, my mother hears me laughing in the background. Long story short,
You got
I
into
got put on punishment and he didn't. I got put on punishment for laughing.
Mhm.
So that made me lose my voice even more because
Mhm.
I didn't do anything but laugh,
Mhm.
but I got in trouble. So when I look back and I go back through memories, I can see myself losing my voice more and more and more. My sister did not stand up for me. She
Mm.
didn't say, but mama, this is why she's laughing. She didn't stand up for me.
Mm.
So when fast forward, we become adults now, and my sister still has that a little bit, and we are grown. When I say grown, we're grown. Everybody
Mhm.
well over 21, 31. Everybody over. So she still has the mindset because she was in charge for so long, and sometimes she still kind of treats us like that, and we
Mm.
have to let her know, whoa, wait a minute, we are all grown, living our best lives, everybody has their own home, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I think it stays with them sometimes, especially when you do it for such a long period of time. But I
Mhm.
I, I want to ask you something, because I was listening to you. What is a major lesson that you learned from being a caretaker so young? When you look back and you think, I was a caretaker. I may not have been what I wanted to do, but I really learned this from that experience?
I would say the biggest thing is I learned responsibility. I learned how to be responsible and to show up, for things. And that even carried over into, when the older people in my family started, going sick. And it was like, my older aunt and even my mother, when it came time for the person to come in and kind of get the business in order, that person was me. Like I was, like I'm always being responsible is something that was a theme that kind of stuck with me.
Wow.
Hmm.
So you think that everything that you went through being taking care of her made you the person that you are today, and it helps you in your business.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't ideal, but I look at things from a lens that nothing is not on purpose. Everything is on purpose and for a reason. And we may not know the reason at the time, but everything happens for a reason. And so, being a caretaker for my younger siblings prepared me when I became a mom at 14. And then when my son arrived 9 years later. So I knew how to, even though I was young, and I knew how to take care of my children. And it helps and supports me as now as a therapist because I have a very wide lens that I can just see through. Like I can see other people's issues, sometimes even before they say it. And so I think it was a heavy burden to bear as a young person, but it has helped me become the person who I am today. And I'm grateful for it. I mean, it was, I had a tough beginning, but now, being an empty nester and only having the responsibility of this little blue blaze. And I feel well, I wouldn't say only having the responsibility of him because I do have other responsibilities, but I also know that for me, my first responsibility is me.
I love that. That's what I wanted to talk to you about as well, because when you were talking about finding yourself and your self-worth and not getting that nurturing part of it growing up, and it made you more nurturing now when you see other people. I love that because for me, on my side, losing my voice and all that, I am like, I go beeline for people who are not talking. If I'm in a room and someone is not talking, they're over by themselves, they're to themselves, I will beeline to them. I'm gonna be your friend. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna pull you in. I will sit at your side. So I think sometimes, and do you agree that, like you said, our stops are all ordered. This is just the way it's supposed to be. But do you believe, or do you think, because I do, our experiences from our past helps us to be better, and it helps us to help others in a more positive way because, like you said, you're more nurturing because of that. I am more like, you're not going to sit by yourself. You're going to come to me. Do you think that's a major part of when you go through all those things that are, that God allows us to go to help us?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that it's even better now, like my caretaking, because I'm still still a helpful person. I will still jump in when somebody needs me, but I also know how to honor my own boundaries now. And I also know how to speak up for myself and
Mm,
how to be vulnerable. I don't have to stuff my feelings or hide how I feel about things. And and know how to do that in a healthy way. So yeah, I'm still the same person. I still will show up for people and care for people, but I also know how to honor my needs as well.
I love that. So at what part of your journey did you decide I am going to take this gift of a caretaker and I'm going to start a business?
Oh, oh, you know what? I don't even think I thought about it like that.
Really?
I didn't think about it like that. I think for me, like I said, I just wanted to be the person that I needed. There were many times in my life where I was in spaces where I needed a warm person to talk to, or someone to guide me through something. And I mean, I can remember one or two times where I got that, but for the most part, it was harsh, and not caring, those experiences were. And so I wanted to be, the person that I needed during that time. And I've always been the type of person who um supported others, providing, advice and giving them, guiding them through situations and that kind of thing. And so for me, going to school to become a therapist was like a natural progression of that innate skill. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I think it wasn't until recently that I realized how the caretaker theme has like constantly followed me through my life.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
what advice would you give to someone who is the oldest, who's probably been through some of the things that you've gone through, but they didn't have that nurturing part?
Hmm.
Because you're a caretaker, because I can honestly say with my sister, that was not the case from
Hmm.
my perspective with her. It wasn't the case. So there, I'm sure there are people out there who's been in your shoes, that's been through the same thing, that been the eldest, that had to be in charge of everyone. What is your advice to them to help them to be like you are? You're confident, you learned about self-love. What advice, how did they start? How can they say, okay, I love her story, but that's not me. What can I do? Because I'm resentful. I'm mad because my mama made me or my dad made me. What advice would you give someone who's in those shoes but didn't have that positivity that you have?
Hmm. The first thing I would say, and I know this may sound cliche coming from a therapist, but the first thing I would say is embark on your therapy journey. Even as a therapist, I am in therapy, even now. And
Okay.
with the education, with all of the years of schooling and internship and all of that stuff, it's still, you can't, it's almost like asking a brain surgeon to do brain surgery on himself, right? It's
Got you.
impossible. Brain surgeon can't do brain surgery on himself, right? And so therapists need therapy as well. And so, I am in therapy. My therapist helps me to see my blind spots, see things that have become subconscious norms for me. And that was one of the most impactful things in helping me in my healing journey. The other thing I wanted to say, just to start really simple, is set some time aside for yourself. And like not just, a minute here, a minute there, but intentional time. So I have a morning routine where I wake up every morning, I read my Bible, I journal, I pray during that time. And sometimes I work out, sometimes I don't. No, spend some time and set some time aside for yourself where it's just you, where you are, going inside and understanding like, what's happening on the inside of you, what your thoughts are, how your body feels, all of those kinds of things. So those are the two things I would say to start with.
I love that because I've gone to therapy twice, and I really think it really did help me because I was trying to solve things myself, but I was broken and I was damaged. So I'm trying to, tell myself or help myself out of the situation, but I needed somebody else that had from the outside that can see the whole picture and not from being hurt. My picture was from being hurt, from, going through not, all the things that I went through. So I love that. Therapy works, you guys. It really does. It gives you a different perspective, and it also gives you tools because my therapist gave me some tools that I still use to this day. And
Mhm.
also, I love what you said about taking time for yourself. I'm just learning this. I am just literally learning that about self-care. And you would think that, we would know that that should be like a part of our adult journey, but it's not. And I'm just learning now about self-care and not to feel guilty.
That's
Oh my,
right.
yes.
Absolutely. That is so important to set time aside for yourself and to make it designated time, whereas even if it's 2 days a week, but these 2 days for this hour is my time where I get to reflect, I get to write, I get to just do what makes me happy, what brings me joy. And that's important.
So I want to give you an opportunity to tell us about your businesses because you are a therapist and
Mhm.
you're a caregiver. So you have these businesses where that's what you do. So tell us a little bit about that because I want to hear. I know the therapist part and I know one of the businesses, but I want the listeners to hear that out of someone who became a babysitter from the age of 3 to 4 years old, what you have accomplished now.
So, okay, so as you know, Research Triangle Counseling is my group practice
Mhm.
now. And that is where we do mental health, substance abuse, and also a little bit of career coaching and counseling. Um, also, I have a nonprofit. It's called Trauma Interrupted, and Trauma Interrupted really looks at unpacking trauma. We provide resources, support, and also some counseling as well in that nonprofit space. I also am the founder of North Carolina Licensed Clinical Mental Health Counselor Network, which is a network on a social media. It's on social media. It's on Facebook, but it is for North Carolina therapists where we can find resources and support. So it's a group. And then I have Kazarina, which is my branding, which looks at all things Khalilah Slade and mental health and
Love
uh,
that.
professional development, personal development.
So tell us if we're out there and we've heard your story and we want to connect with you for counseling. It could be therapy. Before we do that, if someone's not in your state and they want to be able, like they love your story, they love your energy, and they want to connect with you, do, is it something that you can do like via Zoom and help them, or would they need to be in North Carolina in your area?
Yeah, so for counseling, they would need to be in North Carolina. And so I am licensed in North Carolina. The therapists in my practice are licensed in North Carolina. So for counseling, they would need to be in North Carolina. But for workshops or for any type of training or speaking or anything like that, then they can contact me at Khalilah at researchtrianglecounseling.com.
Perfect. And so, if they want to look you up on any kind of social media, do you have social media? Are you a part of any social media? So if they want to just be nosy and look you up and find out a little bit more,
Absolutely. So I am on, goodness, I'm on Facebook under Research Triangle Counseling and Trauma Interrupted. I'm on Instagram under RTP underscore therapist. Or is it RTP underscore therapist? RTP underscore counseling. And at Trauma Interrupted on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok at Therapist Says. That's my name on TikTok. Yes. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Khalilah Slade. You can find me there.
yeah. So if you're out there and you have enjoyed her story and you want to connect with her, if you want to just talk to her, you have some questions, I will make sure that I have everything down into the show notes so you'll be able to connect with her. You can go and check her out before, some of us, we want to go and we'll go on Facebook and look somebody up. Well, you can do that. You can go on LinkedIn. You can go on TikTok. I'm impressed with the TikTok, though. You gotta go head on. I love it. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. And you see how quickly she got over her nerves, you guys. So
Well,
thank you
thank
so
you for
much for
having me.
yes.